6 o'clock, and we start with some breaking news that we've been following all morning regarding the search for the missing Wells woman, Rachel Mattice. The Hamilton County Sheriff, as well as Mattice's family members, have confirmed with CBS 6 that she has been found alive. We want to get to Carrie Beal, who has more on these breaking developments.
Good morning, Melissa, and this is really some good news, but news with a lot of questions. The Hamilton County Sheriff Carl Abrams tells us that Rachel Mattice returned back home in Johnstown early this morning after being missing for 2 weeks, and her family tells us that right now she's inside of Nathan Littauer Hospital. There's also 2 Hamilton County Sheriff cars outside of the hospital right now, and the Sheriff's Office tells us this is an ongoing investigation. There's still questions about how she was able to return back home and where she has been for the last 2 weeks. The Sheriff's Office tells us she is currently being medically evaluated at the hospital and that she appears to be in good condition. Now, I also want to talk about all the agencies that have been helping and find Rachel Mattice: the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, Mohawk Valley Crime Stoppers, Missing Persons of America, State Police, the Department of Environmental Conservation. Some of these agencies were even working on the 4th of July holiday to try and bring Rachel home. Also, a lot of community support. Shania Twain tweeted out urging people to help. There were vigils held with hundreds of people, t-shirts saying "Bring Rachel home." You probably couldn't go browsing too long without seeing on social media those signs showing that Rachel was missing and to try to bring her home as well, and signs on the back of people's cars as well as on the streets. So a lot of community support, a lot of people really trying hard to bring her home. So the good news is that she is home right now, but there still are a lot of questions. So we do hope to have an interview with one of the family members later this morning, and once we learn more, we will make sure to bring it to you. Reporting live in Gloversville, Carrie Beal, CBS 6 News.
Carrie, thanks. We're also following some breaking international news this morning. A judge has ruled Oscar Pistorius will spend 6 years in prison for the 2013 murder of his girlfriend. He was immediately taken from the courtroom after the decision down to the cells.
And before today's sentencing, the South African Olympian was facing a minimum of 15 years behind bars. Both the prosecution and the defense can appeal.
Oscar Pistorius was originally convicted of manslaughter, but a higher court changed that to murder last year.
And we're, of course, going to be continuing to follow these stories throughout the morning, both on air and online, CBS6Albany.com, especially the Rachel Mattice story. That's such good news to wake up to this morning that she's been found.
But
Lots
still,
of questions, yeah.
So many questions left.
All right, let's get a check of your forecast with meteorologist Craig Gold. The start of potential start of a heat wave, huh, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, look, no questions as far as the weather is concerned over the next few days. It's going to be downright hot. Live look outside right now as the sun's been up for about a half an hour, 67 degrees. Outdoor activities, get them done now because it's going to heat up in a hurry out there. By the way, also an air quality alert in effect. Ulster and Dutchess County for high levels of ozone in the air today. The rest of us were just sunny and hot. Mid-80s by lunch, about 90 later this afternoon with the heat and the humidity. Let you know when we get some heat-busting storms in the afternoon to cool you off in just a few. Here's a check of your traffic. In the meantime,
all right, Craig, thanks. We not seeing a whole lot of anything. Northway, exit 7 for Route 7 and north and southbound down there on the Northway looking just fine. Camera nice and pulled back, giving you a nice wide shot. Can't quite see it, but it's going to be a hot one, as you just heard Craig talk about. We'll keep an eye on the roads for you. That's your CBS 6 Eye on Traffic. Happening today, the man who was caught on camera fighting with a Schenectady police sergeant will be in court. Wilson Taylor was arrested by Schenectady police last week after this altercation, and he's facing assault and resisting arrest charges. Now Taylor's mother says officers should have handled this arrest differently. The sergeant, we're told, asked Taylor to get out of the road, and when he refused to comply, he knocked the officer to the ground. The officer gets up, and it looks like they continue to fight. More officers get to the scene. Taylor appears to try and run away, but those several other backup officers come in there and actually take him down. Wilson's mother says her son has schizophrenia. Police say officers did try and talk to Taylor, but that he would not communicate with them.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand will be in Hoosick Falls this week for a roundtable discussion on the water contamination crisis. On Friday, Hoosick Falls residents and those in nearby Petersburg were invited to Friday's meeting being held in the Hoosick Falls High School auditorium. The meeting begins at 2:30 and it's open to the public. Now, speaking of Petersburg, residents are now dealing with new water contamination concerns. The DEC has announced results of preliminary water testing taken near the town's old landfill that unfortunately show elevated levels of both PFOA and PFOS in nearby rivers and streams. So now the town is warning people to swim and fish at their own risk because of the water that may have seeped out of that landfill. The DEC tells CBS 6 they're working to get those test results verified and that they may have more definite answers soon. According to the DEC, Petersburg leaders, they were notified about the preliminary results last week. The DEC did send us this statement saying in part, the DEC will evaluate the potential impacts to local area waterways and will work with the community on necessary precautions to limit potential exposure. In Hoosick Falls this morning, the town is still urging residents to limit non-critical use of municipal water. That's according to the town's website. Yesterday, the village mayor told CBS 6 contractors working at the water treatment plant unintentionally cut electrical supply to parts of the facility, which disabled the plant's ability to pull water from municipal supply wells. Right now, the mayor says treated water will still flow to homes, but there is a limited supply. No word yet on when repairs will be complete.
This morning, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office has a new driving force to increase the presence on Sacandaga Lake. Due to the recent death of a 12-year-old, the sheriff's now pushing to bring back an official dive rescue team. 12-year-old Dominic LaFountain of Northville died after being pulled from Sacandaga Lake Monday night. Witnesses rushed to help with the search until Saratoga County's dive team could make it to the scene 30 to 45 minutes later. And while the sheriff says the tragedy at the lake would have most likely had the same outcome even if they had a dive team, he tells us the lack of one and the fact that other county boat patrols are being funded by donations needs to be addressed. The sheriff tells CBS 6 he's found volunteers willing to be on that team.
Turning to campaign 2016, that's where we find Donald Trump heading to Ohio and Hillary Clinton making a stop in New Jersey today. Yesterday, the FBI announced it will not recommend any charges be brought against Clinton regarding the use of a private email server. Melissa Lee has much more on the FBI's investigation. Melissa?
Yeah, Julia, this announcement comes with some controversy. FBI Director James Comey says he won't recommend charges for Clinton regarding how she handled emails when she was Secretary of State. Of the 30,000 emails Clinton turned over to investigators, 110 were found to be classified at the time they were sent or received. During the months of investigating, the FBI also found thousands of emails that had not been originally turned over, 3 of which were classified. According to the FBI, Clinton will likely not face charges, but the FBI director says the Democratic nominee and her team were, quote, extremely careless. The FBI is completing its investigation and referring the case to the Department of Justice for a final decision. Now, Clinton's Republican opponent, Donald Trump, wasted no time commenting on the FBI's announcement. Trump says it's no accident the FBI made its announcement on the same day President Obama campaigned with Clinton for the first time. He called it an example of a rigged political system. Trump even said at a rally in North Carolina yesterday that Clinton bribed Attorney General Loretta Lynch to avoid charges.
Our enemies may have a blackmail file on Crooked Hillary, and this alone means that she should not be allowed to serve as President of the United States.
A campaign spokesman for Clinton reiterated that it was a mistake for Clinton to use a personal email server. AG Lynch said she would accept the FBI's findings. Now, today, Trump will be in Ohio for a rally with former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. It's the second day in a row Trump will be joined by a possible running mate on the campaign trail. Wisconsin's Governor Scott Walker and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee are expected to speak at the Republican National Convention later this month in Cleveland, and that's where Trump is expected to accept the party's nomination. Although Walker has criticized Trump in the past, he says not voting for Trump only supports Hillary Clinton.
There is a clear contrast, and I think, to me, for those who raise concerns like I just did about the judgment of Hillary Clinton in terms of not just those emails, but some of the other issues out there, really there's only one alternative.
No word yet on who will serve as the keynote speaker. A Trump spokesman says that person has yet to be picked.
Couple ticks away from 10 minutes past 6, and in New York, the state will soon divvy up the $200 million earmarked to repair and replace bridges around the state. Governor Cuomo says that funding is part of a broader $21 billion 5-year plan to upgrade highways, bridges, and other infrastructure. Now cities and counties have to apply for a piece of the funding, but priority will be given to projects that can help encourage economic activity or bridges with structural problems.
6:10, cracking down on child care services, the new regulations for providers who violate health and safety standards.
And an unlikely rescue. Who stepped in to help this trapped bald eagle and how we managed to set it free? It's the most American story we've probably ever run.
Probably. Temperatures comfortable this morning, starting out in the 60s, but man, I'll tell you, heat's going to be building pretty quickly this afternoon. And it'll last for much of the week. We'll talk about how hot it's going to get and when we finally cool things off when I come back.
I'm bringing you back live to Gloversville at the Nathan Littauer Hospital. This is where Rachel Mattice is. She has been found alive after missing for 2 weeks.
Her family says she is inside. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office confirmed that she is being evaluated medically. We'll get you an update on everything we know about this breaking development this morning.
CBS 6 Eye on Traffic is brought to you by attorneys Martin, Harding, and Mazzotti. Injured? Helping you is what we do.
We're continuing to follow that breaking news this morning out of Fulton County, where the search for missing Wells woman Rachel Mattice is over.
So we've been in contact with not only family members, but also the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office this morning. And they are telling us that she has been found alive and she's being evaluated.
That's where we find Carrie Beal. She's live in Gloversville at Nathan Littauer Hospital with more details this morning. Still a lot of questions, though, Carrie.
Yeah, that's right, Melissa. It's good news to hear that Rachel Mattice did return back home, but many questions remain because the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office tells us that she returned herself back home to Johnstown, and this was after missing for 2 weeks. So a lot of questions as far as how long or how she was able to return back home and what she's been doing for the last 2 weeks. But her family does tell us that she's inside Nathan Littauer Hospital right now. The sheriff's office tells us that she's currently being medically evaluated and that she appears to be in good condition. This is after she went missing with her from her family's camp in Wells on June 22nd. So we do hope to talk with the family later this morning, get some more answers as far as how she was able to get home and where she's been for the last 2 weeks. So we will bring that to you once we learn it. Reporting live in Gloversville, Carrie Beal, CBS 6 News.
6:15 now. We want to take a look at some other stories topping headlines this morning. New York is taking action to crack down on unsafe and illegal child care services. Governor Cuomo issuing new regulations giving the state a more specific power to suspend or revoke licenses of providers who violate health and safety standards. Cuomo's directive also increases fines for providers who committed, quote, serious offenses such as fire and health hazards.
If you forgot to buy your Mega Millions ticket, like me, for last night's drawing, you still have a chance to win big. That may be an understatement. A lottery official says no winning ticket was sold last night, so that means the jackpot for Friday's drawing will be an estimated $508 million. The drawing last night also marked the 34th time the pot is rolled over without a winner. The previous record was 22.
In Baltimore tomorrow, opening statements will begin in the case against the highest-ranking police officer charged in the death of Freddie Gray. Lieutenant Brian Rice, like the other 2 officers tried before him, waived his right to a jury and is leaving it up to a judge to decide. It's the same judge who acquitted officers Edward Nero and Caesar Goodson last month.
Over the holiday weekend, more than 30 people were shot in Chicago in the span of 15 hours. Now, Chicago has one of the strictest gun laws in the country, but Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson says the shooting this weekend is another example of there being, quote, too many guns on the streets. He's now pushing a bill that would lengthen prison terms for repeat gun offenders. Nearly all of the shootings happened in the south and west sides of the city. This brings the total number of people shot in Chicago just this year to 2021. That's a high number compared to recent years.
All right, well, if you want to feel a swell of patriotism, we've got this great story for you out of Minnesota this morning, where an eagle-eyed Army veteran used his sharp shooting skills to free a bald eagle over 4th of July weekend. It sounds like a 4th of July Mad Lib. Jason Galvin and his wife were out running errands when he noticed something hanging from a tree branch. The two quickly called police, the fire department, and the Department of Natural Resources, but didn't get much help.
Everybody had the same thing to say, that they were all aware. They've been aware for 2.5 days, but unfortunately it wasn't within their jurisdiction and the safety measures that were going to be compromised.
All right, so then the Army vet took aim at the 4 inches of rope, see it there around the eagle's legs, holding it to that branch. After getting the go-ahead from the DNR, he went to work, and after 150 shots, the branch, rope, and eagle were all free. The eagle, nicknamed Freedom, of course, was taken to a nearby bird conservancy and is expected to survive. I mean, Craig said it best in our last hour, too. Just throw a slice of apple pie in there, and you've got the most American story.
And a bud heavy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, geez, just go ahead and, you know, put the...
how he got stuck up there, tied with some rope.
Put the stars and stripes all over that story. All right, take a look outside at traffic this morning. The Northway, north of the Twin Bridges, north and southbound traffic moving along with no major problems. We're accident and incident free. That's your CBS 6 Eye on Traffic.
Minutes afterwards, he sang "God Bless America" and ate a hamburger.
Exactly.
I mean, what else can you do to top that? Hats and water bottles, shades, and sunscreen needed for today. The heat really building in across the area. Anything outdoors you want to do it now, because it is comfortable out there with temperatures. You can see them scrolling across the bottom of your screen, or whether it's 6 temperatures. And here are the official readings. Everybody's starting out in the upper 50s to middle 60s, so not so bad. No rain showing up on the radar. You won't have to worry about that. Today, the heat is the big story for sure. As we go for mostly sunny skies, the active weather well to the west of us across the upper Midwest, where we've seen some severe weather overnight. But for us, we are fine. That weather will stay well away from us. So hour by hour we go, and we'll go for a mix of sunny clouds today. More sun than clouds. Lots of sunshine, in fact, and we'll go for temperatures really shooting up there into the upper 80s to lower 90s, depending on where you are. Higher elevations like the Berkshires, Catskills, Adirondacks, and Green Mountains, you'll be in the upper 80s. Up and down the Hudson River Valley and Mohawk River Valley, we're going to be more like 90 to 92. So some real hot stuff around from Glens Falls to Saratoga Springs, Schenectady, Albany, and down through Hudson. And it's not just today. I mean, you look at Thursday and Friday, temperature is similar. We're looking at lower 90s. All it takes is 3 days in a row of 90-plus heat, and you have an official heat wave here by Northeast standards. I think we do it. We should see our temperatures come back down on Saturday, but we're not losing the humidity just yet on Saturday. We'll actually see a cold front come through then and give us the chance for some wet weather. Speaking of wet weather, I think tomorrow starts the possibility, at least, of some heat-breaking thunderstorms scattered about the area. Not everybody's going to get them. They'll be hit or miss, but they'll be around. So if you're lucky, you'll get cooled off in the afternoon with a weak disturbance moving through the flow tomorrow. That could give us a storm. You notice the storm chances anywhere from 30 to 50% from Thursday through Saturday. So there's that. Heat wave in effect basically from today through Friday. Uncomfortably humid as we go Thursday through Saturday. And then it looks like we should wind up with thunderstorms most likely Thursday and Saturday also. 90 is where we're going this afternoon. Lower 90s expected for Thursday, Friday. 86 humid, thunderstorms on Saturday, and then cooling off much more comfortable as we get you to Sunday into the beginning of next week. There's your weather.
All right, Craig, thanks. Shelling out more for a cup of coffee.
When Starbucks is expected to increase its prices.
Don't like hearing that. Also, signing up to save a life, how this new iPhone software is helping users register to be an organ donor.